Today we're going to take a deep dive into push-up knowledge, and we'll do that with the help of the iceberg metaphor. The iceberg represents all knowledge about push-ups and is organized into tiers to categorize the level of knowledge. At the top are things that people generally know about, but as we get deeper and deeper, the more specialized and lesser known the topics get. So let's start with the first layer and the more common knowledge. Muscles worked. A standard push-up mainly targets your chest, front delts and triceps in a pretty balanced way, but you can emphasize these muscles more or less depending on the execution. For example, overhead push-ups such as pike or handstand push-ups are more focused on the delts, and close grip push-ups with focus on elbow flexion and extension are more effective for your triceps. Body tension. When you do push-ups, it's recommended to aim for complete body tension. Not only to work your abs and glutes, but also to protect your lower spine. Full range of motion. Training through a full movement is recommended because it leads to greater strength at all angles of a joint's range of motion and also ensures that you don't skip the hardest part of the movement. Elbow position. Avoid flared out elbows when doing push-ups because they put the shoulders and even elbows into a more vulnerable and unstable position. So avoid a T-shape and aim for an arrow-shaped position instead. Shrugging. Shrugging your shoulders towards your ears can lead to tight upper traps, less pec activation and a higher risk of shoulder injuries. To prevent this from happening, pull your shoulders away from your ears and into a stable and locked position. Breathing. When you're doing push-ups, you inhale as you lower your body and exhale as you push back up. This works quite well when you're doing push-ups with a slow rep speed, but is very impractical when you pump out your reps very quickly. So if you're working with a higher rep speed, you can breathe naturally without any specific pattern. Wrist position. Normally you do push-ups with fingers pointing forward, but if you have wrist problems, you can slightly outward rotate your wrist. If this doesn't help, try push-ups on your fists or on push-up handles to minimize wrist pressure. To minimize workout mistakes in general, you should get our progressive workout programs on CaliMove.com. These programs come as a comprehensive day-by-day online guide you can follow easily. Just pick the right program for your individual level and goal and start progressing today. Okay, now it's time for the next layer that contains deeper push-up knowledge. Shift your weight. Shifting your weight is essential to allow the shoulder and shoulder blade a free and smooth movement. Without the weight shift, you are also more likely to shrug your shoulders and flare your elbows out. Scapular retraction. Moving your shoulders back and retracting them not only results in a nice chest stretch at the bottom, which is key for optimizing muscle growth, but also puts your shoulders in a more stable position. Deficit push-ups. To increase the chest stretch even more, you can do push-ups on a slightly elevated surface. This is perfect if you want to focus on your chest and build as much muscle as possible. However, still make sure to not overdo it. Too deep is more risky for unprepared joints, tendons and muscles and also offers no additional benefits for your chest. Progressive overload. In the standard push-up, you support around 65 to 75% of your body weight. If this gets too easy, you can increase the difficulty of the regular push-up without changing the focus muscles by doing harder versions like archer or even one-arm push-ups. Of course, band-resisted or weighted push-ups are also an option to increase the difficulty. Very wide push-ups. Doing push-ups with hands very wide apart isn't necessarily better to target your chest. A very wide grip limits the range of motion for your shoulder flexion and extension. So if you want to benefit from the full range, especially for the chest stretch at the bottom, make sure you're avoiding a too wide grip. So push-ups with a bit wider grip can work, but only if they don't limit the range of motion in your shoulders too much. Alright, now we're taking a look at the deepest layer with push-up secrets. Adduction during push-ups. Your chest helps you push things away, which is done through shoulder flexion. and press things together, which is called adduction. Normally, you can't really benefit from the adduction during push-ups because your arms are fixed on the ground. To still make it work, you can do push-ups on rings, especially if you're doing it with a wide strap placement. The further the straps are away, the better the resistance for the adduction. But please make sure to not compromise your shoulder and elbow position too much. Another option for the adduction is getting a pair of sliders, but this is not as good as rings. Even if you move your arms in and out, there's only a little bit of resistance, and this is coming from the friction between the sliders and the ground. Biceps activation. Yes, it's possible to work your biceps when doing push-ups, but only if you choose the right hand placement and distance to the body. When you're pressing your arms into the ground like that, your biceps have to stabilize the elbow and even the shoulder joint while counteracting the forces of the triceps. You can also simply test this for yourself by mimicking the same movement on a wall or door frame. Just press your arm against the wall the same way you would do it on the ground. Now check your biceps tension with the other hand and get surprised by the results. If you want to take a deep dive into this topic and the anatomy behind it, I linked you a very detailed video about the biceps push-up in the description and the info box. Back activity. Yes, even your back is active during push-ups, and this includes muscles like your traps, the rhomboids, the rotator cuff, and even the lats. This phenomenon is called muscle co-activation between the mainly targeted muscles and the opposing muscles. Most of the opposing muscles are either important to stabilize your shoulder joint or your complete core throughout the push-up movement. So without the simultaneous contraction, there would be a serious lack of stability. Of course, you can't really work your back effectively with push-ups like you would do it with rows or pull-ups. But don't be surprised if you ever get a sore back or lats after doing push-ups. Protraction. Protraction is when the scapulae move laterally away from the spine. This movement increases the work for your serratus anterior, which is a fan-shaped muscle that's located on each side of your ribs. This muscle plays a critical role in stabilizing and facilitating your scapula in overhead movements and also helps with exercises like the planche. So if you want to focus on this muscle a bit more, you can do push-ups with protraction on top, especially when you do any form of planche push-ups. Shoulder health. If you have shoulder problems during push-ups, you should first apply the tips from the layers above. So make sure you use the right arm placement, the correct weight shift, and aim for the retraction of your scapulae on the way down. A lesser known tip for shoulder health is the movement speed. The slower you move, the more you can concentrate on the movement, maintain proper shoulder stability and a clean execution in general. And by slow I mean a rep speed of 3 seconds and above per movement. To be able to do that, you should stay away from harder push-up variations in a very low rep range. The harder the variation, the harder it gets to move that slow and also maintain proper stability. When dealing with shoulder problems, you should also stay away from explosive push-ups. Any explosive press-up movement makes it even harder to stabilize your shoulder joint and also increases the impact when your arms hit the ground. So work with an easier push-up progression that allows you to do more than 12 slow performed reps and increase the difficulty when the pain disappears. One last tip, it is also harder to maintain stability the closer you get to failure. So if the pain increases once the reps get harder, just stop there. I know this is easier said than done, but it is necessary. Okay guys, this was the push-up iceberg. If you like in-depth videos like these, please make sure to also check our comprehensive workout guides on CaliMove.com. Just pick the right program for your level and current goals and start progressing today.